You have said it, maybe quietly, maybe out loud, maybe only in your own head where no one could hear you. I can't live like this anymore. And the moment you said it, you knew it was true. It wasn't a phrase you threw around lightly, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't an exaggeration. It was probably the most honest thing you've said to yourself in a very long time. Hi, everyone. I'm Kanchan Kulkarni, and I'm here to help you see the patterns that are keeping you stuck and the freedom that's waiting for you beyond them. So let's dig right in. This is what it looks like when you have finally reached the realization that you cannot continue living like this anymore. This I'm talking about could be a toxic, draining relationship you have been stuck in for years, maybe even decades. And you've tried everything you know how to do. You've tried talking, opening your heart, trying to explain your needs, putting your feelings into words. But every conversation seems to flip back onto you. Somehow you end up being the problem. Somehow you're the one apologizing, even when deep down you know you weren't wrong. You have tried forgiving, maybe more times than you can count. Forgiving the betrayals, forgiving the broken promises, forgiving nights of silence, forgiving sharp words that have cut deep into you. You have forgiven, hoping that forgiveness would bring about change, but nothing changes. You have tried waiting for them to see you, waiting for them to hear you, waiting for them to finally step into the relationship in the way you always have. And as the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into years, you keep telling yourself, just give it more time. Maybe it will get better, but it doesn't. So you live like this in this exhausting tug of war with yourself. One part of you knows beyond the shadow of a doubt that this is not right, that this relationship is draining you, that it's costing you everything. But the other part of you, it clings to hope. It clings to the memory of who they were in the beginning. It clings to the good moments that pop up just often enough to confuse you. And that push and pull between what you know and what you wish, it's what is keeping you stuck. It's what has you waking up tired every single day. Here is the truth. You're not confused about whether things are bad. You know they are bad. You know this relationship is hurting you. The real confusion comes because you can't trust yourself anymore. You second guess every single thought. You wonder if you're overreacting. You wonder if you're being too sensitive. You wonder if maybe you're the one to blame. You twist yourself into knots trying to figure out how to be calmer, quieter, more patient, prettier, thinner, more agreeable. You tell yourself, if you were different, maybe he'd love you the way you need to be loved. And that cycle of second guessing, that is the real prison. Because if you can't trust your own voice, how can you make the one decision you most need to make? How will you do that? That's why so many women say, I don't even know who I am anymore. Because every time you silence your voice, you chip away at your identity. Every time you walk on eggshells, you teach your body that fear is normal. Every time you stay after telling yourself you'd leave, you send yourself the message that maybe you don't deserve better. And here's what makes it even harder. You may still love him. Or at least you love the version of him you met in the beginning, the man who made you laugh in the early days, the one who looked at you like you were the only one in the room, the man who made big promises about forever, about building a life together. That memory is powerful, and that memory is what is tricking you into believing that if you just hold on a little while longer, he'll come back. But he doesn't. And so you stay trapped in limbo, not fully in and not fully out of the relationship, just stuck in between, watching your life pass you by, watching other people live freely while you keep yourself small, silent, and waiting. That's why you whisper, I can't live like this anymore, because your body, your heart, your spirit, they have hit a wall. They can't carry this weight another year. And I want to tell you so that you can really hear me when I say this. Saying those words out loud doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you have failed. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you have finally reached the truth. It means that the part of you that still remembers who you are is fighting to come back. That sentence, I can't live like this anymore, is not the end. It could be the beginning of a beautiful life, a beautiful future. It could be the tiny spark that you need, that tiny spark of self-preservation that has refused to die even when you have felt like everything else has been lost. And that spark can become a raging fire. if you let it. If you let yourself listen to that voice instead of shutting it out like you always have in the past, if you could just listen to that sentence instead of pushing it back down, you can let it speak to you instead of silencing it. That sentence can lead you back to yourself. When women whisper, I can't live like this anymore, it's usually after years of minimizing what it's costing them, years of telling themselves, it's fine, I'll get through it, it's not that bad. But the truth is, staying stuck in a draining relationship has a price. And whether you admit it to yourself or not, you're already paying it. The first cost is time. And time is the one thing that you can never get back. Every month you stay stuck is another month you don't get to live fully. It's another holiday where you smile for the photos, but you cry in the bathroom. Another birthday where you pretend you're happy while wondering how many more years will slip by like this. And before you know it, 1 year becomes 3, 3 become 10, and you look back at a decade of your life and you wonder, where did it all go? You wonder how many dreams you have shelved, how many opportunities passed you by, how many moments you have missed because you were too busy just surviving. The second cost is your health. Now, this doesn't get talked about enough, but anxiety and stress, they don't just live in your head, they live in your body. They show up as the constant knot in your stomach, the headaches that no medication can cure, the exhaustion that doesn't go away no matter how much you sleep. I know you think you know about what you're struggling with. And the reason you're still stuck with it is because you are minimizing what it is. Because if you were to face the entire truth, you would realize the weight of what you have been carrying. The weight of the pain you have endured for years, maybe decades. Your body knows when it's not safe, when you are not at peace. Your body is carrying all of that pain and that stress in its tense shoulders, in the shallow breaths you take, in the nervous system that never really shuts off. And over time, that stress chips away at you. It weakens your immune system. It drains your energy. It makes joy feel impossible. The women I work with are sick very, very often. They keep saying that my immunity is low and I catch every bug that's around me. That's not a coincidence. For you to feel so unwell all the time, so drained all the time, it's not normal. The third cost is your other relationships. When you are in a draining relationship, a relationship that is just sucking the energy out of you, it doesn't just stay between you and your partner. It spills into every corner of your life. You stop answering calls from friends because you're ashamed of how many times you have said, this is the last straw. You avoid family gatherings because you don't want to answer that same question. You start to isolate yourself. Not because you want to, but because you can't bear the thought of being judged or pitied by others. And slowly the people who love you, they stop reaching out because they assume that you don't want their help. They assume that you're fine. And the truth is, you feel more alone than you have ever been before. The fourth cost is your children, if you have them. They see more than you think. They hear the fights, yes, of course. But more than that, they feel the silences in between those fights. They sense the tension in the air. They notice how you shrink. They notice how you avoid speaking up. And whether you want them to or not, they are learning. They are learning that silence is safety. They are learning that love looks like pain and sacrifice. They are learning that in order to keep someone happy, you have to make yourself small. And unless you change the script, they will carry that story into their own relationships one day. That's the generational cost. It doesn't just stop with you. It carries on into your children, and they may become like you and accept what is being done to them, or they may become like your partner and do the same thing to others because they do not have a healthy relationship role model. They do not know what a healthy relationship looks like. And then there's the deepest cost of all, the cost you feel in your bones, the loss of your identity. You become a shadow version of yourself Because when you second guess yourself for years, you forget what it feels like to trust your own voice. You forget the woman you were before this relationship drained you, before it took everything from you. You forget your spark, your dreams, the version of you that used to laugh easily, that felt free, that believed in possibilities. Losing your identity is what breaks you. Because without that, you might still continue to believe that there's a way out and it's not so bad. But when you lose yourself, when you lose your identity, you have no place to hide because you cannot fake it anymore. You cannot keep telling yourself the lie that it's not so bad, it's fine, it's going to be better tomorrow, it's just stress and things are, stressful for everyone. When you stop to lose yourself, you stop believing in anything better. Maybe you have already experienced it. The moment you look into the mirror and you don't recognize the woman who's staring back at you, the eyes are duller, the posture is smaller, the light is gone, and you wonder, where did I go? That's the cost. The cost of staying isn't just the arguments or the betrayals or the silences. The cost is you. Piece by piece, you give yourself away until there's almost nothing left. And here is the harshest truth. You don't get to stop paying. Every single day you stay, you lose a little more of yourself. You lose another night of sleep. You lose another ounce of confidence. You lose another piece of your voice. You lose another year to the illusion that maybe this time it will be different. So when you say, I can't live like this anymore, you are not exaggerating. You are not being dramatic. You are telling the truth. You are naming the cost that most people around you don't see, because from the outside, maybe it looks like you have it all together. Maybe you smile, maybe you keep up appearances, maybe you go to work and function like everything's fine. But behind closed doors, when no one is looking, you're struggling in a way that's impossible to explain to anyone else, because they would never understand why you continue to stay in a relationship that has taken everything from you. That's why the words, I can't live like this anymore, are so powerful, because they're not just words. They're a line in the sand. They're an acknowledgement that the price you're paying is too high. If you don't act, if you don't decide, you already know what the next year will look like. It will look exactly like this one. The same silences, the same second guessing. A year from now, you'll be even more tired, even more invisible, even more convinced that maybe you can't do anything about this. Maybe this is your life. That is why the cost of waiting is always higher than the cost of deciding. Because waiting steals years and deciding will give them back to you. And this is not intangible. This is not something that sounds too good to be true. Let me tell you what happens when you stop second guessing yourself. What happens when you finally say, enough, and you make that one decision that you have been avoiding. This is where everything starts to shift, because the truth is, you don't just want to feel a little better. You don't just want to survive another day. You want to live. You want to wake up in the morning and not feel that bit of dread in your stomach. You want to walk through the day without rehearsing every sentence in your head. You want to speak without fear. You want to be free. That freedom isn't abstract. It's not vague. It's not intangible. It is tangible. You will feel it the first thing as you wake up in the morning, when your chest doesn't feel heavy. You will feel it when you walk into a room and your voice doesn't shake. You will feel it when you finally trust yourself enough and you make that decision to stand by yourself. This is what I have for you. Imagine sitting at the same table, but instead of shrinking, you feel confident. Imagine opening your mouth and the words that come out are calm and clear. Imagine looking in the mirror and recognizing the woman staring back at you. Not the tired, worn down version of yourself, but the one who still has spark, who still believes in her own worth, who still trusts her own voice. That's the shift. And here's what most people won't tell you. That shift doesn't take years. It doesn't take waiting for him to finally change. It only needs your willingness to want a different future than the one that you have been stuck in. 30 days or less to cut through the fog, 30 days to stop the second guessing, 30 days to start seeing a glimpse of the woman you know you want staring back at you when you look into the mirror. And from there, you get to build the life that you deserve. That's the work that I do. I work with women who want to make the change. In 30 days or less, we stop the spiral of self-doubt. We strip away the confusion. And I help you make that one decision that you have been avoiding. That decision might be to stay. But if you stay, it will be on equal terms without compromise. No more begging for respect, no more suppressing your needs, no more silence. If you stay as an equal, because you are now learning to listen to your own voice. You are learning to voice your needs. You are learning to understand that your needs are not meant to be dismissed. You have the power to give yourself the life that you deserve, and you are starting to believe in that power. Or you could make a different decision, and that decision might be to leave. But if you leave with certainty, not guilt, which is what many women feel. They feel guilty for leaving a toxic or a draining relationship. You will leave with your head held high, not questioning whether you made a mistake. You will leave with the confidence that you can handle whatever comes next, because that is another fear that women have. How will I manage? I have never lived without my partner. How will I manage financially? How will I manage emotionally? How will I manage on my own physically? I don't know how to do that. You will learn to do that because you will learn to trust yourself. As I said, you will learn to believe in the power that you have within yourself to give yourself the life that you deserve. So either way, you win. Because either way, you know where you stand. And that's the power of that one decision that's made with clarity. When you decide with clarity, you stop wasting years. You stop wasting your health. You stop wasting your energy. You stop teaching your children that silence is normal. And you start teaching them that strength is about speaking up, that love is about respect, that peace is non-negotiable. And when you have that clarity, you stop feeling invisible. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop second-guessing every move you're making. And you start to trust yourself again. You start to believe in yourself again. So I'm going to say it again and again. The cost of waiting is always time. Years you don't get back. The payoff of deciding is getting your control back. And that's what my clients have achieved. They have stopped second-guessing themselves and they have started living life on their own terms, happily taking responsibility for their choices. If you're still not sure, here are questions you need to answer. Can you afford another year of being stuck in a draining relationship? Another year of sleepless nights, another year of silence, another year of losing more of yourself than you already have? If your answer to those questions is no, then you know this is your opportunity to turn things around. To stop telling yourself you are fine when you are clearly struggling. Your future can be what you want it to be. It's not cliche. This is the truth. These are the transformations I focus on. I work with women who want to change their life, who want to give themselves the life that they believe they deserve instead of living the life they are now. But that means making different choices than the ones you have been making. So my question to you is, are you ready? Until next time, stay safe and see you in the next episode.